You're listening to the Unbranded podcast, where we talk about marketing and a bunch of other stuff. Welcome back to the Unbranded podcast. We are not branded and we are podcasting all up in your face or your ear, exploding your eardrums, because that's what we do. Guys, come on. Yeah, sound effects. Get your sound effects.
Kaboom. Pew, pew, pew.
Did anybody do anything famous this week? I didn't.
I did not.
Titus has been climbing in the TikTok per the norm.
It's just a low weekend here.
It's low weekend. I only got like one video with 40K, not 1.2.
Only 40K. Only 40K.
I just put out a YouTube video and it has less than 20.
There you go. TikTok is the future. TikTok is the future. And on that point, I think that brings up an interesting discussion. Titus, why don't you share what's happened over the past week or so in TikTok land?
Well, our fearless chief and commander is threatening to shut down the app because of its origins in China. Therefore, forcing an American company to purchase TikTok so it can stay operational, which happens to be tech giant Microsoft. And they would control operations.
The very uncool tech giant Microsoft.
Yeah. I mean, they own LinkedIn. That's kind of cool, right?
Microsoft owns LinkedIn now. Yeah, Xbox did pretty good under them. They're not technically Microsoft, right? They're their own thing. So is that what's going to happen? Is it going to be kind of its own thing, but technically owned by Microsoft?
What the deal that's proposed, or what's online, according to New York Times and Washington Post, is that Microsoft would have control of operations and data within the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada.
Got it. Okay. And then there would be like a Chinese version of it for the other countries and stuff.
Right. So Byte Sound is like the parent company from China that bought Musical.ly.
Mm-hmm.
They're still going to control all their other markets if it goes down this way. But Microsoft would keep the data in America.
Got it. Yeah. So I was hearing that's like the primary concerns, that all of our data is basically going to, another nation that can be using it for who knows what. And there's a lot of...
Well, you already gave all your data away, everything that you own and every social network you're on. Like we've already given it away. Like, if you want to get off the grid, like, just unplug and go living in Alaska.
No, it's less the grid thing and way more the amount of data I think that from what I understand, that TikTok has been collecting, probably data that they shouldn't have been collecting while the app is open, and that's going to a different country, and it's not necessarily kept within the U.S. like Facebook. Like, it's kept within U.S. soil. It's not going to like Germany or something like that. The data is being housed here or controlled here. So that's been the big quandary there. Yeah.
As long as they're not collecting my credit card and my social, I don't care. They can have everything.
They'll have everything else.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't break the laws.
Well,
on the internet.
Nothing to fear then. The internet.
I just don't like that Trump wants like them to pay like the government like a significant amount because they quote unquote got the deal from Microsoft. I'm pretty sure Microsoft could have gotten the deal in themselves. It's Microsoft.
Well, I know there's been some buyers that have been interested in them for some time, for sure. But I think this definitely speeds things along. And I know, it's been especially a bit of a government interest for some time, because like the military was banned from TikTok and all these kind of things, like, from a just boilerplate, like consumer level, it sucks when you're told you can't have this thing that everybody else is enjoying. I don't think that's a reason why they're doing this.
Hey, that's how Facebook started. Facebook only came to college students. And like all my friends who were in other colleges had it before my college. And I was like, I was so upset and I just wanted it. And then I got it and was like, oh, this is not like MySpace. And man, if MySpace still was around, I would still be hardcore MySpace, HTMLing up, having little freaking glitters falling down from the top.
You know, what's his
My
name?
top
What's
8.
what's the guy?
Tom.
What's the guy who
Tom.
created Tom? Yeah,
He lives in
Yeah,
Hawaii.
Tom lives
he
out
lives
here.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like
he lives.
a photographer out here.
Bro, he's actually a brilliant dude, like, and really into helping people.
That's
So I like that
fantastic.
guy.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you
Hung
didn't,
out with the
for
guy.
the listening audience,
Yeah.
No,
That's
he's cool.
really-
I've hung out with him. He's awesome, man. He's a
Yeah,
good
he's a
hang.
brilliant man. Yeah.
So, listening audience, if you want to know where Here is and where to find Tom, who created the social media network that kind of started everything, let's be honest, you come to Hawaii.
Yep. You might see him walking the streets of Honolulu.
He might take
Taking
your picture. Who knows?
He might.
Yeah, so
I wonder what
we can
Tom is
also-
doing during the pandemic.
Probably sitting at home in his comfortable spot and doing things that wealthy people who don't have to
I'm
work
honestly
every day.
surprised that he didn't like create another social media network.
He
after
doesn't
that.
have to.
Why?
Why
Walk
would you
away.
work when you
Nah,
don't
just-
have to?
I don't know. There's like lessons learned in a second rodeo. I don't know. Maybe
There's-
he's
there's-
on to other more
He got that
challenging things
Fox
in life.
money.
I'm the kind
Got
of
that
person
Fox
that's
money.
like I'm the kind of person that's like, let's build a company, let's make $100 million on it, and then me not work for the rest of my life. Where there's other people, apparently you, who want to make
Yeah.
$1 million or $100 million in a company and then keep making more $100 millions.
Well, it's more so like the challenge of life. But maybe to Tom, you know, the next challenge is becoming a great photographer or something like that. Who knows? But I subscribe to the idea that you need good, meaningful work to progress in life, and the less that you have of it, the more you move on, and the more decrease that you experience of meaningful work, the more you just kind of shrink.
Well, see, at
a bit in
that
life.
point, I wouldn't call it work. For me, I equate work as in I need to put food on the table, so let me go work. Where if creating a business is like making art for you, then I can understand the whole like I have to make things to make things. I'm all about making things just to make things, whether I make money on it or not. So if you talk to me in that manner, then I get it. Like if making businesses is your art, that's cool.
Well, I think that's kind of like the interesting, you know, climate of business that we're in at this stage in time, right? Like you have YouTubers who dream of being YouTubers, and their entire lives is just having the camera pointed at them and they're talking about whatever they do or playing a video game. You know, it's an interesting time that we live in, while at the same time, all of these businesses are going under, you know, like that are doing normal businessy stuff. But then you've got these YouTubers who are just like racking in their millions. It's kind of nuts when you think about it, but they're doing what they love doing. And I honestly think that a lot of people could be doing what they love doing and add value, offer value to the world doing that. For YouTubers, is probably through the form of entertainment, alternative entertainment to, you know, movies and television and all that. But I think a lot of businesses could, you know, do things that they enjoy while getting paid. And just like, I don't think a lot of people are awoken to that fact.
Well, I feel like it's generational. So like we're kind of in that last generation where we played outside as kids and then got the internet when we were in our early teens. And so we still live in that whole confined mentality of like the
industrialized revolution.
The industrialized revolution, like where like you go to a company, you stay there for your entire life and you die. And then what you saved up goes to your kids, kind of thing. Where the kids nowadays, my kid will never know what it's like to not have an iPad or like the internet or a self-driving car. My kid was born after the self-driving car. He doesn't have to look forward to that, because we look forward to that because we saw, you know, old school science fiction. It's like, man, one day we're gonna have flying cars. Flying cars haven't gotten here, but they're kind of getting here.
Close.
They're close. But
Uber.
We do have self-driving cars, and we were like, how could that even happen? I remember being like, you know, like maybe 10 or 11, and whatever Nintendo was out at that time, probably Nintendo, Super Nintendo or something. I can't remember during that age. But like, man, I was like, how are these graphics ever going to get better? man, these look so real, but it's like 16-bit graphics, and you're like,
yeah.
I'm just like,
it's 3D, guys. It's
yeah,
Star Fox, you know, in its primitive 3D form. It's like, oh my gosh, cutting edge. And then freaking, you know, Nintendo
like this is never gonna get any better.
drops. Yeah, Nintendo 64 drops and 3D got better, you know.
But I'm still,
you look
I'm still
at
kind
now,
of at,
holy crap.
well, I'm still kind of at that place of like, you know, there's the Xbox, whatever they just came out with, the tower thing that they have, and then PS5 that they're talking about.
The
I'm
Mega
like,
Tower.
yeah, I'm like, how can it get any better than this? I'm still in that place. Like, what's the next step in TVs? Is it holographic? Are we just gonna like have this player stuck to our ceiling and it's gonna like have the holographic images of the people that were playing in front of us, and you can just stick your hand through it? I'm just like, what's next?
VR, AR, and touchscreen holographs like Minority Report.
I don't think VR will get to that level of use. Now people enjoy it and people play it in the game sense, but I think augmented reality, AR, that could be a significant thing.
VR will get there. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time, right? Like, think about flat screen TVs. Like, when they first came out, only the super wealthy could have a flat screen TV. You know, a small like 32-inch TV was like $4,000, and now you can get a 60-inch for $400.
Yeah.
So once the tech catches
you get it for like $250.
Well, I don't know if you
in 4K.
I don't know if you guys heard
6K.
this, and this was an interesting article that came out. It was in Adweek. It says, "Is it a video game or is it New Zealand? This fun tourism project gamifies the country, and because of lockdown, they've basically made a VR game in which you explore New Zealand." And so they recorded the VR footage from, I guess, this dude who ventured out in the thing, but then they turned it into this interactive experience. So you put your VR helmet on, and you go forward, and it's gamified. So there's points for getting certain things along the way, but you're experiencing New Zealand through this. There's some people I've worked with out here who've been kind of toying with a lot of VR kind of Hawaii stuff. I'm just thinking, like, during this time when Hawaii is inaccessible, like, VR is a great way to expand into like tourism and things like that. You know, while you can't access it, make it a game. You know.
Well, I know that Apple is supposed to be coming out with these new glasses, and like I feel like if someone can get glasses that are like AR, like I feel like that's gonna blow VR. Like I feel like that'll blow VR out of the water. It'll be like, I don't know, because VR like locks you out of the real world rather than like brings you into another world together. And I feel like it's almost like you go into a separate room, because you can't really, you can interact with people across the seas, but you can't interact in your environment, you know, as well as augmented reality. So I feel like VR is like this special niche that like won't be the end all, where AR is the thing that everyone could use.
But in respects to gaming, VR is the way to go. Like, could you imagine putting on a VR headset and playing Call of Duty or playing Rainbow Six or even Fortnite? Like, that's how video games get better.
But would it not even be better?
360.
Would it not even be better if now your
house
in your living
room,
your neighborhood turns into Call of Duty?
Come on, bro.
You know, that one Ryan Reynolds film.
These couch warriors ain't gonna be running around in AR, man. They'll be like, this is too much work. I don't want to break a sweat.
People LARP, man. This is digital LARPing. That's all it is.
Yeah, but the LARPing community is quite small. But I see your point there. There's a
Have you seen
Reynolds
some
film.
of those big sword fights out in the parks? Those are not small.
Sure. There's a Ryan Reynolds film coming out. I think it's Guy or something like that. Like, I think that's the name of the film, and it's basically that he figures out he's a non-playable character in a video game. I'm actually really looking forward to that. I love Ryan Reynolds.
Sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. All right, sorry about that, folks. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. We're back. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about augmented reality, and go.
You said Apple glasses and how opportunities that would be presented through marketing with AR glasses.
Potentially.
I'm curious about that.
Have you heard of the Apple glasses?
No, I haven't. Please let me know.
but it's supposed to be like kind of like where the lens, like no one can see looking through, but you can see looking out, and you can see all this stuff on the screen. And it's supposed to have like Siri in it. But if we know anything, like Apple's first launches of any new technology don't get it till at least Series 3. Because if you got the Apple Watch 1, I returned the Apple Watch 1 3 times before I committed once they redid the Apple Watch 1. That's when I actually bought it the first time.
I got it once they made it waterproof. Yeah.
AirPods.
Well, even the first iteration of AirPods had their own issues. But
there were some issues with it, but most of them was a complete project. Same thing with the Apple Pencil and all that. But yeah, I totally agree. Like the later versions of it will be good, but it will set up a new paradigm probably for the next, iterative development of those glasses. Like imagine just like walking down an aisle with those glasses on at the grocery store, and there's a sale on some cereal or something like that, and there's an ad that pops up talking about that sale for the cereal. Like it's like a native ad based on the context of where you are, whatever maybe QR codes are hidden in the aisle or object based. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but I've seen the schematics for it.
Well, I would hate to be walking somewhere and get ads. Like that's not what I want it for.
Well, it's a little bit more of like what you're looking at and what gets highlighted about it, or maybe it's like there's a little glimmering sale icon next to it, and there's points if you get that sale. I have no idea how they'll gamify it, but based off of the schematics that I've seen for it, it's going to include opportunities for advertisers to jump on a platform using their software development kit and whatnot.
I know it's supposed to be like utilized for like Apple Maps and things of that nature, and which
that'll be nice.
I could see like the ads being in Apple Maps where like you could pay Apple,
a gas station,
and they'll put like a highlight, like Waze, but it's supposed to be
like Yelp. Have you ever scrolled into Yelp these days? All of the ads, it's like check the box, check the box, check the box, check the box, check the box. It's all the ones that they recommend. It's like, well, clearly we know who's spending dollars on
because no one else is. I hate Yelp.
It's the worst. You end up getting advertised a 5-star McDonald's above anything else. And it's like,
hey, you know
not what you came to Hawaii for, but that's the thing it recommends first. Is like, okay.
I don't know, because every McDonald's has their own local dishes. So,
I will say a lot of the McDonald's out here
eat spam. This is the place.
We do have some pretty great McDonald's comparatively to the mainland. That is for sure.
But I think what's better is 7-Elevens. Like 7-Elevens in Hawaii, are like none other. Like being from Alabama, like we don't get sushi unless you go to like the 1 or 2 sushi restaurants. And those are still like $30 a roll because it's such a rare thing in Alabama and no one eats that. But yeah, you come here to Hawaii, you get 7-Eleven. You can spend $4 on a sushi roll, and it's like 10 times better than anything I got back in Alabama, and it's $4. That blows my mind.
Yeah, and you can buy Japanese chocolates.
And it's not bad sushi. It's
Japanese
not like
chocolates.
No, it's great sushi.
It's great sushi. That's a crazy thing. And the banana bread. Let's talk about the banana bread. Come on now.
I mean, it's great sushi for $4, better than the $30 plates I'm buying in Alabama who don't know what they're doing with sushi.
Absolutely. Comparatively.
It's coming from the same place, like frozen fish somewhere. It's not fresh.
Right.
Titus, sorry.
There's better sushi.
There's way better sushi here by going to like
$4. Yeah, you can get better sushi for $4.
Ooh, tell me.
Little TMI, but bro, it's not good for the digestive system.
I mean, I'll give you $4 and you can make me sushi because you've been catching fresh fish every day.
I got you, bro. I got you.
Yeah, I don't know how to roll it though.
I know how to roll it too.
There you go.
I know how to roll up other things too. Oh, doom, shh.
Oh boy.
Anyway, how we got to talking about 7-Eleven, I don't know how. Oh, because you started talking about McDonald's in the Yelp app. I hate the Yelp app, but my wife loves it because no one ever thinks about like reviewing a restaurant until they actually have an issue with it.
I wish there was a way for businesses to stay more up to date with their listings, like both on Yelp and Google Business and like the maps and everything like that. Because like the most like frustrating thing is seeing that open now label, and it's within the hours, and they've got the perfect food for you and stuff, and you go there and you call, no one's answering the phone, but you show up and it's closed because of COVID.
But see, that's what we were talking about, a couple weeks ago, about why businesses need marketers, because businesses are taking the time to work on their business, not on marketing. They don't know what all is out there that's a resource for them. So they hire people like us who do know that.
Right. 100%. And I think, to the people who are listening, if you have a restaurant or a brick and mortar, your website is probably not the place where people are trying to figure out what your hours are, or if you're available. If you're closed certain days or only have certain opportunities available to your customers, like within certain windows, have different times, or just closed, what you need to do is you need to update your Google listing through Google My Business, which is free, and Yelp, especially. Those two places, and both of them are free. You just need to change and update. And even if you think you don't have a listing there, guess what? Google and Yelp have already put a listing there, and they're telling your customers probably things that aren't true about your business just because they're using default data that they scrub from the internet. What you need to go is you need to claim your listing and yourself. Again, it's free. Do your customers a favor, update your stuff. And I'm telling you, that's, you can put your website link in and all of that kind of stuff in as well. But that's the first place that people are encountering your business here on the internet today. They're going on their phones and looking food near me, and your restaurant or business is showing up, and it probably says open, most likely when you're not. So please clarify that for people. It'll do you a lot of good. It'll really help people understand that you are legitimately open. Again, I think it'll serve you and your customer for the best.
Or if you're still confused or lazy, you can hire me and I'll do it for you.
Wes will do it for you.
$100 an hour.
For $100 an hour. Plus.
But that's really easy. I charge a minimum of an hour. So
there we go. Wes sets up businesses on Google.com. That's not really a real URL, but he'll do that for you. It's his new service.
Click on claim a business.
Yeah, you can email me at wes@weshodge.com. Real easy. I'll do it for you. $100.
You heard it here first on the Unbranded podcast. I think Wes is actually 100% serious about that. It will help your business out a ton.
Not be lazy and do it.
There's that too. But, for people who actually want to multiply their time, value their own time, they're good at what they're good at. Maybe they're better at making fish tacos than Wes is. Then, maybe it's best if they focus on fish tacos and hire Wes to do what he does within an hour of their time.
True story.
So maybe it's not a thing of laziness. Maybe it's a thing of being able to multiply your time.
Yep. So Brian, why are you not posting stuff on Twitter? If we're in this content explosion right now that you and I are in, why are you not posting on Twitter?
We have to say that Brian is putting out 64 pieces of content a day. Is that correct?
Not a full 64.
Close to.
It's a high amount of content per day. So, for example, we'll create this podcast, and from this podcast, I'll create some Instagram posts about it. I'll create some emails about it. I'll also create a blog post about it, and they will shoot out over Facebook. It'll shoot out over LinkedIn. It'll shoot out over Instagram.
But
all of the different places, but not Twitter. And
why not Twitter?
I expressed this to my friends in our group chat the other day, and it got so much disrespect.
I didn't disrespect you. I asked questions. Asking questions isn't disrespect.
It's not. I tried.
Facts.
I'm
Facts.
completely joking. But
hey, I get it. I hate Twitter too. I hate
for
Twitter.
me, I don't use Twitter. Now, I've heard a lot of experts say, Twitter is great, for your brand and as an individual. I personally don't find, I think it's great for public figures. I think Twitter is great for public figures. I don't consider myself a public figure. So to me, that's kind of like one reason I'm not on Twitter. If you are a public figure, Twitter is a great place to be because people will just lap up what it is that you say and retweet it like they do on Twitter.
So should Titus's Sushi Mart have a Twitter?
I think the general rule of thumb is be on the platform that you enjoy the most because you're just going to spend more time there just naturally. Like that's step one. The other step is to be in the place where your customer is. Like, and if those two are the same place, fantastic. If not, then adjust your strategy to include where your customer is, but have fun on the platform that you enjoy the most too. I think that's kind of like my rule of thumb. For me, I spend 0 to -10 hours of time on Twitter. I'm just not there. I don't open up the app. I have no desire to be in there. I think it's toxic as heck, way more toxic than most platforms.
Yep.
Facebook is starting to get that way. I'm slowly.
Oh, Facebook is super toxic.
Yep.
Over the past, pretty much since the last election, actually, I've pretty much stopped using Facebook except for ads. Like that's just my honest confession here.
Now I haven't used Twitter since like 2 years ago, and I just started using it like yesterday.
Yeah, I've seen some other story brand guides use Twitter, and they do very well with it. That's where their audience is. They're also a lot more, I would say, leaning into public figures and stuff like that, where their face represents their brand. And I'm just, personally not in that place, nor do I want to. Now, could I adopt that in my strategy? I could, if I believe my ideal customer was there. I just don't think that they are.
But as a marketer, why wouldn't your customers who are businesses be on Twitter?
I think my customers are more likely on LinkedIn, or they're reading articles on like Medium, or they're scrolling through Instagram. I'd say there's probably younger customers on TikTok, which would be kind of like a place that I could stretch into, or, YouTube if they're looking up how to do marketing videos on YouTube. Hence why we've got this podcast on YouTube. That's our plug. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button on our site right there on our YouTube page.
Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know the next time one of our podcasts drop.
If you're listening to this and you like video versions and want to see our beautiful faces, check us out on YouTube. Especially Wes. He's got a glorious beard. We've been talking about Wes's glorious beard all this time, and you have not been able to see it. But now you can with the Unbranded podcast
on YouTube. It's getting hot, dog.
It's a limited time offer. You've got to see Wes's full beard before it disappears for all time. It'll be on the YouTube channel. You're tired of hearing me say this.
That shit'll grow back in a week, bro.
That's true.
That's true. We won't tell anybody else that though.
Yeah, I'm back on Twitter because I'm trying to do this shotgun approach with the Gary
V's thing. Why don't you explain? Because you just jumped into it recently.
Well, I didn't know there was a Gary V thing until you showed me that link yesterday.
So from what you've gathered so far.
So what I'm actually using a tool called TubeBuddy for YouTube because I just relaunched my YouTube channel. You can find me on YouTube at Westifer. That was a plug, by the way. But yeah, so I use this program called TubeBuddy, and it kind of helps you remember because there's so many like best practices on YouTube to like get that algorithm to like fire for you. And some of those best practices are Twitter, of course, and Facebook. And so I was like, you know what, like, not that there's anybody out there on Twitter really following me, but who's to say they won't? And I looked at it yesterday. It's like somehow I have more followers than people I follow. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of winning Twitter, but it's not anything. So I'm like, even if I get like 1 or 2 people to like click on my video, watch it, make my views go up, make my watch hours go up, and eventually get monetized. Like right now, I'm just trying to like get everything pointed back to my YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's great.
And so for me, the shotgun approach is the way of doing that. And like I had it post at 5:00 this morning. Of course, I was asleep. So when I woke up, there was maybe like 4 views. But once I started like shotgunning it out to everyone and to, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, then all the views started pouring in. And so like for me, the shotgun approach is working.
That's fantastic.
So,
Well, and I got to speak
What kind of
to,
content are you putting on Twitter?
it's just a link to the video, to be honest.
That's it.
That's
Yeah,
great.
no, it comes with the huh?
No text.
Well, it comes with text that comes off the video.
And you could probably, if this then that whole process
Yeah.
too. If you publish a new
Yeah.
video over YouTube, automatically do the thing.
Yeah. Well, this
Yeah,
is my
I got
official first week back at it. I mean,
Yeah.
last week was just more so a channel update, but this is my first official week back, so I'm still got a lot of things to connect up.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I got to say, the quality of your video is really excellent. And if anybody wants to learn really
that's
how
the
to
reason
select
You want to make
the
your
light back there.
videos better? That thing right there.
Yeah,
Is
that
the most
$1,200
If you want to learn,
That's
if you want to learn
$700.
how to pick the perfect photo or take the perfect photo, Wes has got an incredible video up on his YouTube channel. We will post a link in the show notes so you can check it out. Maybe there's an end card that
Thanks,
we
Brian.
can we add an end card that's not
You
on
can
our channel?
totally
I don't
add
know.
an end card. I don't have access to this YouTube channel, so I can't put it
Okay.
around and
Well,
play with.
we'll add it at least in the show notes so you can check it out. But seriously, it's not only is it a really great, helpful tip, and this is something Wes is really passionate about, but it really will help your video succeed. It looks super classy too.
For anyone who's watching the YouTube version of this, get yourself a light. It doesn't have to be the most expensive one, but get yourself a light and get a soft box that's like at least 4 foot wide. And I guarantee you, doesn't matter what camera you're using, your image will look way better and you'll look more professional in any video that you do.
That's fantastic. Titus,
we could even make ourselves look more professional on this thing, but we're using our.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, we gotta do what you gotta do. But if you're looking for a classy kind of thing, I think those are really helpful tips. I cannot wait to see more of your videos. Titus, we're on our last couple minutes here. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Twitter is toxic. I really despise the app. I went deep down the wormhole when it came out in like 2008. I was probably tweeting like 10 to 15 times a day and like just going to hashtag tweet ups. I don't know if you guys remember those. Yeah, we used to have like these group meetups where you make friends on Twitter and then we would get together and have happy hour and stuff. Oddly enough, I've met some of my really good friends from tweet ups.
Crazy.
I mean, I've been to like Instagram meetups, like when they would do that yearly, and they still do that. Like I've gone to those, so I get the whole concept.
Yeah, and this was like in early adopter phase, right? Like, I mean, it literally had been out for maybe like 6 months. So like the community was small and it wasn't like broad and widespread. So we just met up with people, ended up becoming friends, some of them doing life together. But after about a year, that all went to shit. So I don't know how you guys are doing marketing on there. I refuse to open the app.
What was that? What was the character count back then when it first started?
What was that?
Oh,
it was
140.
200.
140.
Oh, 140.
140.
Oh,
yeah.
140.
Like I could never wrap my mind around like how is this anything important to anyone? Like yeah, we have Facebook statuses.
I mean, we were valuing kind of like a stream of consciousness, right? Like I've seen some of my past like Facebook things that they're like, when you started Facebook, you posted this, kind of thing like 10 years ago or so. And it's like, might go out to grab a burrito or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the post.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what it was. It's like, okay, I'm walking down the street. I'm going to go get a Slurpee. Like Twitter was like not a place for conversation for the most part.
Just posting your stream of consciousness, which was
this
is an interesting point in time.
So it was also the first form of micro content that we had on the internet socially.
I still think it's weird to this day.
It is. And just Twitter so many like verbal wars, and it's so interesting to me that something you put on Twitter is valid for the rest of your life in our like current cancel culture. But that's a whole nother topic.
No, totally. And let's address that in the future. I think what's
speaking of go ahead. Sorry.
I think what's interesting about Twitter is how it's kind of evolved into a news format. Over the last few years, especially when the nuke scare happened here in Hawaii, we got news that it was a false alarm from Twitter first, before anything else, before news media was talking about, before the city of Honolulu could address anything, it was posted on Twitter first, and that was coming up in Google searches and stuff. And so I think in terms of like an immediacy, they do have something really valuable there that no one else really does. I think they should pivot hard into that, because it's tanking. If you look at the stocks and stuff, and I don't really gauge anything based off of stocks, but it's starting to show it's not offering the value that they're trying to promise that it's going to offer to shareholders and all of that kind of stuff. I think it may not be around in the next 5 years.
Well, there's the greater issue with them canceling accounts based upon Twitter's discretion. That's why what's his name, Jack Dorsey, he went on the round of
like
podcasts
policing the
to
internet, right?
Yeah, they're silencing characters that they don't like. People that have a voice, that have freedom of speech, they're just shutting them down, and that was the big issue, and hence the stock dropping down. But if it's not Twitter, it's going to be something else that has this immediacy, like the validity of real time of whatever's happening in the world.
But see, that's where it goes into
Twitter's going to hold its place.
But that's where it goes into that other issue. This is a privately owned entity that can set its own rules. So how can we enforce freedom of speech in a private space, right? That kind of thing.
Right.
100%.
Well, and it's a big question. Is like, well, should you take that upon yourself, or do you believe in the more democratization of like the platform and stuff, and more freedom of speech there? I think it's up to the platform owners. I remember when they released the AI on Twitter to learn from humanity and stuff, and that Twitter AI came back the most racist, vulgar, horribly abusive, toxic, speech throwing little thing. And I think that's it. You just like look at that and go, this is the worst forms of communication that we as humans are putting out there. Like it's a human problem. It's a human problem. We're terribly abusive with our language, and we don't have a value system in place that exonerates better care of other people and kindness and things like that. We exonerate or what really thrives is sensational, toxic, name-calling abuse of others. And I think that needs to, I don't know how you solve a problem like that.
Well, that's everybody's Thor behind their screen with their thumbs. Like half of the shit that you see on Twitter, you would never say to somebody's face.
Right.
Never.
But that's the ethics versus law argument.
Sure.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Ethics is not always the law.
Right.
And this is a private forum versus a public forum. Obviously, if you go out to the city courthouse, now you're bound by a different law than if you were to come to my house and you can say whatever you want. Right.
Absolutely. So. Well, and I think that goes to say, and this is the lesson I think that most brands can take away. When you're putting stuff out there as leaders with your own voice, talk as if you're talking inside of a house with a person that you care about. Lead with empathy. Like talk with people, not shaming but empowering people. Like tie into a vision of what success looks like rather than tearing people down. Like that is the way your brand will lead with success.
Well, I think an easier way to put that is talk to people, not at people. Remember that all these social networks are social first.
Yeah.
And
if you're not going out into the void.
Yeah, no, like you're literally talking to people until you understand that you're not ever going to get your message out.
And choose your words carefully because they will be held against you forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
And they can lift people into better realities too. The right words can cause significant change for good of others, or for the bad of others. And brands that really take that seriously, you can cause some real great change out there. So that's it for
one last thing before we go.
Okay.
Yesterday was mine and Brian's 7-year friend anniversary on Facebook.
Yeah,
that's so important.
Was that?
That's so important.
Yeah, it's not really
You
a
guys-
friendship unless you're friends on Facebook. We all know
It's
that.
not.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah,
friends until you're Facebook official. That's what I heard,
Exactly.
or at least maybe that's dating. I don't know.
Yeah, so 7
Speaking of a
years.
social network,
There we go. High five, Wes. We made it
Air-
7 years. Okay.
yay!
All right.
That was
On that
great for
note-
the podcast audience.
Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you guys for listening. Come back again.
Follow me on TikTok, Titus of all time.
Follow me on YouTube, Westifer, and on Instagram at Westifer.
You can just keep listening to this podcast. I'd be stoked.
You've been listening to the Unbranded Podcast.